Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. With us right now is Mort Klein, the national president of the Zionist Organization of America. He's at the helm for 25 years. And we invited him tonight because the front page of the Jewish Week had a headline, President's Conference warns ZOA on tactics, sanction for demeaning insults against colleagues. Mort Klein vows to continue zealous advocacy. Mort Klein, congratulations on 25 years at the helm of ZOA. And are you mortified at the headline in the Jewish Week this week?
Well, it's simply wrong and outrageous that the Conference of Presidents have urged me to stop using the language that I'm using and criticizing some of the organizations that are harming Israel and the Jewish people, even though the conference's own rules say we permit members to zealously advocate and criticize the policies and viewpoints of other member organizations and their leaders. This is healthy and critical to the Conference of Presidents' mission. But they claim that I've been too strong. And so what have they complained about? They complained that I and ZOA, have strongly criticized the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, and Jonathan Greenblatt for promoting and praising anti-Semitic groups like Black Lives Matter, disseminating their materials throughout the United States in classrooms, even though they condemn Israel as an apartheid state and say that Israel stole Arab land, and we condemn them for praising J Street, an organization that urged President Obama not to veto anti-Israel resolutions and brings the major pro-BDS leaders to their conferences. And they condemned that. They complained that we complained about ADL legitimizing anti-Israel groups by co-signing letters with them, like CARE and Jewish Voices for Peace, the Muslim Public Affairs Council, extremely hostile to Israel. They co-signed letters, and we criticized them. We criticized Hayas and the National Council of Jewish Women. Hayas, of course, used to bring large numbers of Jews to America as refugees. Now only 4% of the refugees they bring to America are Jews. Only 4%, half or more are Muslims. But we criticized Hayas because their National Council signed a letter defending anti-Semite Linda Sarsour and urging ZOA and others to stop criticizing her. So we complained about that. And of course, we should have. And we complained about ADL's malicious letters to Congress, where they condemned pro-Israel stalwarts like Secretary of State Pompeo, Brigitte Gabriel, Frank Gaffney, the Canary Mission.
Well, the report lists 7 instances where you criticize the ADL. According to the report, the way it's, I see it, and there's an extensive article in the Jewish Week, is not that you're speaking out, but they don't like your tone, that they say you're belligerent. That's what it says in the article. So it's not that they don't want to take away your freedom of speech, they just want to take away the tone.
What is belligerent by? We have never used insulting language. We've never called names. We simply said that what ADL and Hayas and National Council of Jewish Women have done is outrageous and disgraceful. That is what it is. It is disgraceful to promote Black Lives Matter and J Street. It's disgraceful to attack Friends of Israel like Pompeo and Frank Gaffney and the Canary Mission. It's disgraceful to defend Linda Sarsour and urge people to stop criticizing her. That's all. What other language can I use but disgraceful and outrageous? Should I say we are disappointed? It's too weak. We're living in an era, Zev, of increasing unbridled anti-Semitism and Israel hatred. Jewish lives are at risk. We have an onslaught of BDS activity throughout the world and the campuses in America. We get calls every week from Jewish students who have been physically and verbally attacked at campuses. SJP rallies call for throwing Jews off their campuses and even call for murdering Jews. They call for killing Jews in these rallies. Congress now, members, are publicly supporting BDS and even calling for ending all aid to Israel. 11 Jews were murdered in Pittsburgh. Things are really dangerous now. Jews have been attacked in New York and L.A. and throughout the country because they're Jews.
No question, anti-Semitism is rising. I think the ADL and Weaselsville Center, but the issue really, and I'm curious to know, first of all,
I want to know, Zev, why should we not call this outrageous and disgraceful, the things that ADL and Hayas and the National Council of Jewish Women have done? That they're complaining about our words. And by the way,
Please press 1 to mute or unmute yourself. 4 or you are now muted.
What we said is inappropriate. They refused to answer me. And what's worse, Zev, and I have to point this out, we filed a complaint against ADL for falsely stating that ZOA doesn't fight anti-Semitism and is not a civil rights group, for falsely stating that we're no longer a venerable organization. That's a demeaning insult. That's against the rules. And we complained about Amenu, the former Labor Party group, which called ZOA Zionism violent, reactionary, and democratic. And those words are far stronger than the words we used. And do you know what this committee did? They dismissed that complaint. Why did they complain about our language and not warn these other groups, ADL and Amenu, for the language they use?
So let me ask you a question, Mort. You are a member...
We're really questioning what is the real purpose of this warning to the ZOA.
Well, you have... This is part of the...
But I will tell you, we
yes,
will
go ahead, Mort.
Stop fighting for Israel and the Jewish people in a strong and powerful way, but respectful and no name-calling, but we will remain as strong as we can in advocating zealously for the Jewish people, for Eretz Yisrael, the country that we love.
Mort Klein is our guest, and we're looking at the ZOA and the President. Here's my question to you, Mort. This is a committee on rights and responsibility. It's the first time that I think anybody's been censured. Why do you think now...
No, we were not censured. No, that's not accurate. We were warned to tone down our language.
They said you were sanctioned for demeaning insults. That's the headline.
We were warned. And we complained, by the way, another complaint we had is that Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, at a meeting of the Rights and Responsibility Committee, I'm on that committee, he became angry at me at the meeting and put his fist in my face, within an inch of my face, and started screaming, if you want shalom bayit and peace in the conference, you should throw out Mort Klein and the ZOA in the conference. And we're a charter member of the conference. And he became so uncontrollable that he was actually dragged out of the room. And I complained that he should be warned about this outrageous action against me personally, and they dismissed it.
But is this personal between you and the ADL? Is this a personal thing between you and the Anti-Defamation League?
What do you mean a personal thing? Of course not. It's only their policies. I have nothing personally against any people in the Conference of Presidents, but if ADL is promoting Black Lives Matter on J Street, and such, I will call them out on it. It's nothing personal, but I guess for Greenblatt it's personal because of this outrageous action he did against me. It was just shocking. In fact, the whole committee was shocked. By the way, one of the people who signed this letter warning us actually said to me, Mort, what you've written is logical and rational. What you've said is logical and rational, and the only reason I voted to warn you is because I don't think you should criticize other groups.
But the way it's portrayed is that they just don't like the tone. But let me ask you this question. This is supposed to be a secret report. In fact, the 51 members of the President's Conference were only supposed to know that somebody was reprimanded by the conference. So how did it get to be the front page of the Jewish Week?
Well, someone leaked it. Obviously, it wasn't me. Someone from the committee or someone in the Conference of Presidents leaked it. I've asked Richard Stone and Alan Fagan and Arthur Stark. They should have an investigation as to who leaked it, and they should be sanctioned and chastised for this. This was supposed to be totally confidential, but once they've leaked it, I have to defend ZOA. It's my duty.
Let's take some phone call. Let's go to Manhattan. I think, is that Max in Manhattan? Go ahead, Manhattan.
Yeah.
Your question for Mort Klein.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead. What's your question?
Okay. Well, I don't know if it's a question as much as I'm in agreement with him. I don't know if the public who's listening now knows that J Street and the ADL receive a good deal of money from Mr. Evil, i.e. George Soros. When you're supporting Linda Sarsour, you're supporting Islamic terrorism. I don't understand why more people don't see this or are not vocal about it. You have these women's groups who go on these long marches with Madonna, and Linda Sarsour speaks there. You have a lot of Jews that are going there marching, and they don't see these things. And when you bring it to their attention, they poo-poo it like it's nothing. So if Mort Klein is bringing this up, not only should Mort Klein be bringing it up, but everyone should be bringing this up.
Mort, your response.
Well, of course, that's true. In this really dangerous year of increasing anti-Semitism, all the organizations should be saying and doing the things that ZOA does. They should all be condemning ADL's support of Black Lives Matter and J Street and Hayas and National Council of Jewish Women support of Linda Sarsour and such. And they should not have dismissed our complaints against ADL and Amenu for demeaning and promoting demeaning and insulting language against us in articles they've written. And yet they haven't. They dismissed them. That's why I've been told by people, is there something political going on here? You know,
we live in listen, Mort. We live in the age of Donald Trump, and I'm going to the question that I have for you, because I know you for a long time. I think that you've been consistent in how you've been speaking, in your tone and your criticism. I don't think it's changed. So maybe people are more sensitive today in the age of Donald Trump and the partisan politics that we see in America today, including in the Jewish community.
Well, then why wouldn't they have warned ADL for lying about us, that we're not fighting anti-Semitism ZOA, lying about us that we're no longer a respected organization? That's against the rules to lie. And for Amenu lying about us and saying our Zionism promotes violence, people being reactionary and anti-democratic.
Zev, if I can say something in, I got to put something else in, let me know.
Okay, we're going to move on, but thank you for a good comment. I appreciate it. But let me, and we're going to take another call in just a moment. But let me ask you this question, Mort. We live, as I said, it's a different time now, and I know Richard Stone. He's an honorable person. I know Alan Fagan from the OU. They're, I think, honorable people. So why do you suppose that honorable people are not responding to you? Is there something else there that we don't know about? I'm just asking because
I asked them to explain what is wrong with the language we used, and why did they dismiss our complaint against ADL and Amenu? They simply said, we're not discussing it.
Now, is there a way that you can go in front of a committee or speak at it? How does it work with the President's Conference?
Actually, the rules say that we have a right to have an appeal to the committee before they make public their decision, and that was never given to us. We asked them to allow us to appeal it, which the rules allow and require, and they decided to not allow us to appeal it. So you have to ask them why they did that.
Now, getting back to, we live in also where things are being leaked, or it got to the Jewish Week and has made the front page. Who do you think? It's only a handful of people that probably had the report, so how did it get out? Who do you think leaked it? How do you think it got out to the public?
I can't answer that. I don't know who leaked it. I mean, look, the people that we complained against, was ADL, Hayas, National Council of Jewish Women, and Amenu. So but I don't know. I have no idea who leaked it, and I've asked them to do a thorough investigation to find out who leaked it, and they should be sanctioned.
Now, but I know you're not happy with what's happening, and I believe, according to the report, the ADL and Hayes are not happy with the results of what happened as well. So what happens now? Where do you go? Because does it stay stuck? Does it go to another level? How does it work?
No, we were warned to not use harsh language, but the language we used is disgraceful, outrageous. That is legitimate language. That's not, and we didn't call names, so I don't understand why we were warned and the others were not warned. But that's what stands. We were warned, and where it goes from here, it depends on how they respond to our zealous advocacy that ZOA will continue to promote. We will. So you're not
backing down. They're not going to back down. Basically speaking.
Are you kidding? We are going to call out any Jewish group that promotes policies or takes actions that harm Israel, the Jewish people. We will call them out. I am a child of Holocaust survivors, and I know from history that almost my entire family was massacred by Hitler, while the Jewish world here said almost nothing. And leaders like Stephen Wise, condemned Peter Bergson and Ben Heck, who are trying to warn and let Congress and the media and the America know of what was going on, and the Jewish leaders were demeaning these actions by Ben Hecht and by Peter Bergson, and telling congressmen not to meet with them and not to listen to them. So we cannot dare ever allow that type of situation. We must speak out boldly and strongly and proudly and courageously to defend the Jewish people and the Jewish state of Israel, and ZOA will continue to do that as long as I am president of the Zionist Organization of America. And my board and exec committee fully support all the things we've been doing unanimously, I might add. And so we do not understand this warning. We will call out organizations that promote these terrible policies that hurt our people, and we will continue to do so. As the rules state, we're permitted to zealously advocate, and that's what we've done, and that's what we'll continue to do.
But who determines how far you can go and what language you can use? I'm just wondering, Mort, in fairness, I'm looking at all sides, because what language, hold on, Mort, language that you may have used a year ago or 2 years ago, but today we have a heightened sensitivity, so maybe today it's...
What are you talking about? The language I use is calling it outrageous when ADL supports Black Lives Matter in J Street. That high
hold on, you have to hold on, yeah.
That it's a disgrace for them to defend Linda Sarsour. What is wrong with that language? Language is a very subjective thing. It is not. There's no scientific way to determine what language should or shouldn't be used. But to say outrageous or disgraceful is legitimate language.
Okay, let me go to...
we mentioned the name George Soros.
Okay, you mentioned before, I appreciate your phone call. We're going to move on to Dave in New Jersey. Thank you, Dave in Newark, New Jersey. Your question for our guest.
Yes, good Shavua Tov to you, Zev, and to Mr. Mort Klein. Mr. Klein, I want you to know that I've been following your work for years. I am a Muslim, I'm a black American, and I'm a Zionist. I don't think you've spoken to many of us. But I just want to tell you...
Yes, I have. I've spoken to many Muslims. I have many Muslim friends. I was raised in 100%, virtually 100% black neighborhoods till I was 16 years old. All my friends till I was 16 were African Americans. So I'm very comfortable and happy to speak to black people, and I have throughout my entire life, and I have friends who are African Americans who I meet with.
I know that Mort Klein is our guest, and we're going to continue taking your phone calls. We're going to be right back. Don't go away.
TCN, Talkline Communications Network Radio, America's #1 Jewish program.
And we're speaking with Mort Klein, National President of the Zionist Organization of America. We're looking at the conflict between the ZOA and the problems with the Conference of Presidents. So we're taking some of your phone calls, some of your emails. Dave in Newark, I know we interrupted you before. Go ahead, Dave. You wanted to finish your comment to Mort Klein.
Yes, Mr. Klein, we got disconnected somehow, but I'm back. So as I was telling you, I am Muslim, and I'm a lover of the Jewish people, and I'm a Zionist, and I've been following your work for years, and I want you to keep it up, because the Linda Sarsours and this so-called Muslim congresswoman who had the audacity to swear on our holy book and then use a swear word about President Trump, and to think that no one in the Democrat Party has come out to this day, to denounce their fellow Democrat. And Linda Sarsour, she doesn't speak for Muslims. She speaks for a handful of, she speaks for a cult of individuals, who are anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, and the audacity, again, to wrap herself up in the Palestinian flag when you live in the United States of America. It is outrageous. It is disgraceful. But you said something a while ago that floored me. Are you serious that the ADL is supporting a racist militant group like Black Lives Matter?
Yes, Jonathan Greenblatt has written and spoken saying that Black Lives Matter are the movement of our era, and they disseminate Black Lives materials in schools around the country. And Hayas and the National Council of Jewish Women have defended Sarsour and urged me and others to stop criticizing her. And let me just give you I'd like to ask this gentleman and you, Zev. Here's a sentence that they told me was inappropriate. I wrote, It is troubling and shocking that ADL has joined radical Islamists and Israel haters in condemning Act for America, a pro-Israel group. ZOA hopes that ADL will never again give legitimacy to such despicable Israel-hating groups by co-signing a letter with them. And we hope ADL will cease attacking pro-Israel and anti-radical groups, anti-radical Islam groups like Act for America. Now, what was wrong with that? I called it troubling and shocking that they support, that they co-sign letters. There's nothing wrong with that. This thing is totally baffling. We don't understand why there's a problem with anything we've written or said. We've asked them, what is the problem here, and they will not answer us. And yet they dismissed the complaints against ADL and Amenu.
Could it be Mort Klein that they view you as being Donald Trump? That you're being viewed as Donald Trump? That's how they perceive you?
What is that supposed to mean? I've criticized Donald Trump many times, and I've praised him many times for moving the embassy and for being so supportive of Israel. But what do you mean? What does that have to do with Donald Trump? I'm not Donald Trump.
No, but I'm just saying we're in the age. Listen, the Jewish community is divided over Donald Trump. Your humans, listen, except for the Orthodox community, the majority of the Jewish community is not just opposed to him, but vehemently opposed to him. We live in an age of very partisan politics, and people go crazy. In fact, I spoke to people that say if they think something nice about the president, they're afraid to say it in their office. They can get fired for it. That's how charged the atmosphere.
But they complain to us by saying it's troubling and shocking the ADL has joined radical Islamists in condemning Act for America, pro-Israel group. What does that do with Donald Trump? And American Friends of Likud support Donald Trump. National Council of Young Israel support Donald Trump. They weren't warned about it.
Let me read a portion from the Jewish Week article. Critics say it wasn't Klein's alignment with White House policies that troubles them as much as his pugnacious personal attacks against conference colleagues using uncompromising language and employing guilt by association tactics like describing ADL, Highest, AJC, the Reform Movement, and the Orthodox Union as being part of an unholy consortium of Jewish and anti-Israeli groups that promote immigration of Syrians to the U.S. You include the OU in there too. So I just wanted to respond to that part of the article.
First of all, we deleted the OU in the very next day because they were not part of this. We were told they were. We deleted it. But yes, we criticized them because they did not support having increased vetting of Syrian Muslims and other Muslims and others, frankly, before they come to America. I mean, when you look at the Pew polls, 95 to 97% of Muslims in the Muslim world, in the Middle East, have enormous antipathy toward Jews in Israel. So before Syrian Muslims and other Muslims should come here, and when they're coming from a violent terrorist regime like Syria, they should have very ample vetting to make sure we know their backgrounds. And these groups oppose vetting them in a stronger way when there was increased vetting, and they support bringing them here under these circumstances. And so we think that is very dangerous to have these people coming from a terrorist-type regime, and we don't know who they are, when the polls show that they have overwhelming numbers of them have enormous hatred toward Jews in Israel. I don't want to have more people who hate Israel and Jews coming to America.
So exactly. I have a question
for 30 quick seconds, Dave from New York. Yes.
Okay. Have you reached out to our good friend Malcolm Holmline for advice? Because I know you think pretty highly of him as I do. But have you reached out to him?
So you don't know what I think about those things. So don't assume anything about me. But no, Malcolm Holmline refuses to comment on this.
Have you tried to speak to him about it?
Yes, I have.
I want you to keep up the good work, and I
appreciate
you 1,010%. And I want you to know too that I used to be a fan of Pink Floyd, but once I found out that he supports BDS, not every time I hear his music, I turn down the volume or change the station.
I feel the same way about Pink Floyd and Code Pink. They're both horribly anti-Semitic. And if you want to learn more about all the things we're talking about, you can go on our website, ZOA.org, ZOA.org, and you'll see our exact press releases and articles that they're complaining about, because I'm proud of all of them.
Dave from New York, thank you for your phone call. So my question to you, Mort, is, I think Richie Stone and I know Alan Fagan are reasonable people. Have you tried reaching out to them after this got leaked?
And I'm also a reasonable person.
I'm not saying you're not.
I'm fighter for Israel, as strong a fighter for Israel as anyone in this country. So why are they coming after me and not going after ADL and Hayas and Amenu when they've done and said terrible things? Why?
So have you tried reaching out to Richie Stone and to Alan Fagan to say?
Yes, they refused to discuss it with me. They refused.
But if you're allowed to appeal, aren't they part of the appeal process?
They rejected it, saying no, we're not going to have an appeal. They said we've had long enough hearings on this, and we don't need an appeal. They refused to allow us to have an appeal.
So you're at an impasse. So as you continue doing what you're doing, are you going to get censured again, or are you going to get
admonished? Not censured. I was
admonished. A warning.
Be careful about the language. And by the way, this warning was inappropriate. As I just read you some of the languages, what is wrong with the language that I mentioned to you? Nothing is wrong with it. So this makes no sense. A number of people have said to me, since, is there something political going on? Because you're right of center, and they dismissed complaints against left-wing groups like Amenu and ADL.
So, if you're going to continue, are you concerned that you might be thrown out of the President's Conference for not listening to the warning that was given to you? I want to know what's going to be happening, because
you're a charter member of the Conference of Presidents. There are many steps before there's any drastic action, and you need a large majority of the conference to approve any drastic action. And ZOA will remain a zealous advocate for Israel and the Jewish people, especially in these times of unbridled, increasing anti-Semitism and Israel hatred. We will not relent in fighting for Israel and the Jewish people in the way we have for 25 years.
Avram in Brooklyn, go ahead, your question. In Kensington, go ahead, your question for Mort Klein.
Shavua Tov, Mort Klein is a good guy, and David, the black Muslim Zionist, is a good guy. It's too bad that we didn't get to hear what his comments would have been. Did Mr. Klein mean to say that he grew up with many black Muslim Zionists?
No, I was raised in communities that were overwhelmingly African American until I was 16. So I have many friends who are African American. I've lived a big chunk of my life with African Americans, and I also have many Muslim friends that I've met over the years.
Okay, so, and how many of them meet all three tags: black and Muslim and Zionist?
There's only one person I happen to know that's an African American Muslim, and he happens to be a good person and a strong supporter of Israel. The person that I happen to know.
Did it happen to be this guy David who called up?
No, it is not. I've never heard of him. No.
He'll be number 2.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you for your phone call.
Your position.
Tell him to invite me for dinner. I'll be there. I get hungry around 6 o'clock every night.
All right.
Okay, be happy and strong.
Avram, thank you. Let's go to Yaakov in Williamsburg. Yaakov in Williamsburg, your question for our guest. Go ahead, Yaakov in Williamsburg.
Yes, good luck. I often hear on other talk shows, like right-wing talk shows, the host or callers will ask, why are so many Jews, these like ADL, etc., are they so anti-Israel? And I explain to them that there is a metaphysical reason for it. A Jew without Torah reaches out thinking he's doing good in many other ways when he's doing harm. And also it says in the Chumash that we are compared, as everybody knows, to the stars of the sky and the sands of the earth. And when we're good, we're like the stars of the sky. We're bad, we're like the sands. And I told somebody, the editor of a totally communistic Jewish magazine called Jewish Currency, he says he's a communist. I said, you are creating. He talks about Trump as a Nazi. I said to him, Trump's daughter is a convert to Judaism. His grandchildren are Jewish, and I said to him,
Yaakov, so your question is.
Well, it's not a question. It's just an explanation of why these Jews that don't have Torah do all these terrible things that hurt us.
You know, we can have. Let me thank you, Yaakov, for your question, or actually for your comment, I should say. But more in the few remaining moments that we have is that I think the times have changed. People are more thin-skinned or more sensitive today. That's what I'm going to say. So what do we do now to calm things down?
look, we don't understand why this warning was given and why the truly outrageous lies and statements made by ADL Namenu and Hayas and National Council of Women were dismissed and ignored. We don't get it. And we wanted an explanation, and we never got it. So I don't know what to say. I just read your audience a few sentences they claim were wrong. There's nothing wrong with those sentences. They wouldn't explain what was wrong to us. So we will continue our work. Our mission is to fight for Israel and the Jewish people, not to appease the frightened left wing.
Amy Manhattan, your question for Mort Klein. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Amy Manhattan.
Yeah, hello. Mort, you're doing a great job. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Listen, it's not even strong enough. These leftist Democrats, this is the new anti-Semitic Democrat Party, and we've got to keep saying it. They've been calling me a Nazi and Hitler for the last 2 years, a Jewish woman, because I voted for Trump, and they call Trump a Nazi every day.
Let me tell you.
And we feel they don't want Jews in the White House. That's why they're attacking Trump, and other reasons, of course, like Jared and Ivanka are Jewish. But we've got the Linda Sarsour. You've got to make these Democrats denounce Louis Farrakhan, Linda Sarsour, George Soros, the 3 new congresswomen, Alexis Cortez that hates Israel.
Let me tell you, ma'am, the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, a few weeks ago condemned one of the great friends of Israel in Congress, Congressman Louis Gohmert from Texas.
Oh, we love him.
Because he condemned George Soros.
Right.
And ADL called and said this was anti-Semitic for Gohmert to be condemning a Jew.
How
absurd the situation is.
Yeah, George Soros hates Israel. Are you kidding me? But Jonathan Greenblatt, ADL, he's a leftist Democrat. Obama's good friend for years. Of course he hates Israel. And Chuck Schumer, and even the Jewish Democrats are not friends to Israel. Except
so why hasn't the Conference of Presidents warned Jonathan Greenblatt and ADL for using the type of language they've used against ZOA and others?
Well,
now,
say that again. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. But I heard. But listen, the Democrat Party is anti-Semitic. It's that only.
The Democratic Party is not anti-Semitic. You have elements, Amy, that are progressive, that are around, but not the Democratic Party itself. You have whatever you're going to say about Chuck Schumer and Jerry Nadler. They're staunch supporters of Israel.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
You
may not like some of their positions, but
no, they're not.
You're not being Amy. You're not being realistic.
They're pro BDS now.
No, they're not pro BDS. Chuck Schumer is not pro BDS. Jerry Nadler is not pro. I'm sorry. You don't know your facts as far as that's concerned. But, Amy, I appreciate your phone call. But thank you. Mort, so as we close out, I was just curious because, have you tried sitting down with the ADL? And others, you can be in disagreement with them, but is there a way of doing it?
I have called Jonathan Greenblatt many times. He doesn't take or return my calls. Okay?
And do you see him at meetings of President's Conference or other get-togethers?
I see him at meetings, and he doesn't look at me. So there's nothing I can do. I'd be happy to sit down with him or anyone in the conference to discuss these issues. In fact, I had an hour meeting with the head of the Reform Movement, Rabbi Rick Jacobs, only a few months ago. We had a very beneficial conversation, discussion about Israel. So I tried to reach out to anyone and everyone in the conference.
Is the Reform Movement also at odds with you over the statements, or is it more the ADL? Because if you tried reaching out, did it have an impact as far as toning down the tension?
No, we did not make any formal complaints about the Reform Movement. It's seriously, the Reform Movement made really vicious insulting attacks against the Conference of Presidents, and they were not warned about such a thing. And they publicly attacked the Conference of Presidents in a very demeaning way, and they were not warned about that they should never do that again.
No, but what I'm saying to you is that when you had a meeting with the head of the Reform Movement, you had what it sounds like you had a productive meeting. So there's no tension between yourself, even though you are definitely to the right and they're to the left, but you're not fighting with them within the Conference of Presidents.
I said, no, not at all. In fact, I said to him, you are pro-Israel just as I am. We have a different view as to what's best for Israel and what's the best way to try and get to some sort of rapprochement with the Palestinian Arabs. I said, but our goals are identical. I said, we both love Israel. We want peace and prosperity for Israel and the Jewish people. That's what I said to him.
Okay, so I guess we're going to have to find what's going to go on, because it's either going to be ignored, but because of the publicity, I would assume that there's going to have to be Chapter 2. This was just Chapter 1. That was in the Jewish Week.
As the powers that be have told me, they hope this will just end it, and but we will continue our zealous advocacy for Israel and the Jewish people. Our work will not change at all, because we are proud of everything we've said, everything we've done. Proud of it. And I urge all of your listeners, again, to follow us on ZOA.org, because we put out 3 or 4 or 5 statements every week, and they'll learn a lot about the Israel situation by following us on our website.
Mort Klein, final question. There's going to be elections coming up, I believe, in the World Zionist Organization. That's coming up in the next couple of months. Am I correct in that?
Yes, not the next couple of months, in about a year.
Oh, within a year. I think they're getting ready for it. I was told that.
Yes, they're getting ready.
Okay. And do you see an alignment in the Jewish community that there will be less votes on the right and more on the left? Because it seems like there's a shift in the American Jewish community.
I would think that the rational centrists who understand the reality of the Arab-Islamic war against Israel in the West will be more inclined to be supporting organizations like ZOA.
Mort Klein, National President of the Zionist Organization of America, thank you for being here with us. Look forward to having you back in a future broadcast. And we hope that peace could reign in the President's Conference.
Amen. I feel the same way. Amen.
And I guess we'll keep monitoring the situation and see what happens, and look forward to having you back.
I look forward to it. Thank you, Zev, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Shuato. Mort Klein of the ZOA of America here on the Talk Line Communications Network.